Hey everybody, and welcome to Don't Copy That Floppy, New Year's extravaganza.
Year in Review Mega Edition.
Yay.
Our Super Arcade Edition.
Turbo. Anyway, we're a video game news podcast that broadcasts live on Fridays, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yes, sirree.
We talk about, all sorts of different video game news, and this week we have done a roundup of all of the stories that we thought were cool from 2016 that we reported on, and we picked our favorites, and we put them all together, and that's what the show's going to be about.
We're going to talk a little bit about what games we really liked, too.
Oh, yeah.
What were our personal favorite games of the year?
Our personal favorites.
You can get right into it. We got a lot to talk about. We also, we're part of the reason we're doing this as well is because around this time of year, there's not really any video game news.
Well, all of the big releases have already happened because they happened before the holiday season.
Right.
Yeah, there isn't a whole lot. And even the award shows are over. See, at least with, movies, you still have Oscar bait movies coming out now because the award shows haven't happened yet. Yeah. But with video games, the Dorito Pope has already said his bit. Yeah. He's already gave his blessing.
Word of nacho cheese is... I don't know, I couldn't put that together fast enough.
So that's already happened. So we don't have, there's just no reason for games to come out for a while. Yeah. I mean, there are some games coming out at the beginning of the year, though. Nah.
Some real gems.
I don't think that's happening.
That we will talk about. I believe, Lex, in the email you sent me, this year was dubbed the Year of Copyright Claims.
Copyright? Crackdown,
yeah.
So, I was looking through all the stories, and I knew that we had done a bunch of stories, at least towards the end of the year, about, specifically games like Pokemon Prism being taken down by Nintendo. Yes. But when I went back through and looked at all the stuff we had reported on, I noticed there was a lot. There's 8 or 10 stories about this stuff.
There's a lot of this going on.
And it's
not all Nintendo.
No, they're the biggest perpetrator, but it's everybody. It's like Blizzard and Disney, and I think EA is in there. Mm-hmm. They're all goofing it up. So the first one, which happens, so we're going to go through chronologically with this trend. Right?
I think we're in chronological order.
Okay. And the first one that happened was from January 8th.
Oh my god, almost a year ago.
And it was a Star Wars, open world MMO type thing, Kickstarter, that was taken down. Although with this one, and Destructoid speculated about this, and we thought so too maybe at the time, was it seemed like it was trolling. Mm-hmm. The people who were making it were like, well, obviously it was going to take down Notice, so we're not going to, put that much work into it. Well, it's fine. They tried it, and Disney was like...
Disney said no.
Nah, man.
Nah.
The mouse said no. And then later, on...
Was this the next one?
Yes, because that one's definitely much later, because that's in May.
This one's in April.
Okay, well then switch that. Switch that sooner. But I think
we're in the right order. There were more towards the end of the year. I think we're good.
Okay.
Let's just talk about this one.
Okay. So we had... I forgot this article was from Tech Times.
Yeah, Tech Times.
Then in April we had Nostalrius, which there was a lot of drama that we reported on this year. They had a whole thing where they made a WoW vanilla server, and then Blizzard said, no, we know you've been running the server for no money, and, you're supporting a type of game that we don't want to support anymore, and players have talked about how much they want it, but we're going to shut you down anyway.
150,000 active players who just want to play regular World of Warcraft with no modification. Not allowed.
That vanilla bean WoW.
Horrible people.
So... As Blizzard said, you think you want to do that, but you don't.
But clearly these people did.
Obviously
they were actively doing it.
Yeah. Blizzard saw this as a threat to their profit from WoW, which was stupid because these people were obviously not going to play WoW. Yeah. So they canceled this, but then they said, we're going to go talk with the people of Nostalrius about making a legacy server, and they had a meeting with them, and then for months we didn't hear anything, and then the people from Nostalrius came out and said, yeah, they just had that meeting with us.
They just blew us off.
Yeah, and they never talked to us again after that meeting.
So we're handing off all of the code and stuff to a different group of people who are now going to bring Nostalrius back.
And I think that actually happened.
Yeah.
Recently.
So.
And it's just, I don't know if it's been shut down yet. I mean, it's probably going to, but...
Well, for now... Oh, rare Pepes.
Rare vintage Pepes. You know, it really bums me out that now Pepes are associated with, like, hate groups.
That's the dumbest thing ever. If that's valid, then all memes are associated with hate groups.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, Harambe memes are horrible.
Every single meme in existence has at some point been edited into an offensive state.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
you can't pin that all on Pepe.
Yeah, especially since, like, I was watching an interview with the dude who originally created Pepe.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just the nicest guy.
Yeah, he's a
like,
nice, weird dude.
Yeah, he's just like, no, I just wanted it to be funny.
I just made a funny comic. Well, yeah, because then it turns into, oh, where did this racist frog come from? It's a comic about weird roommates. It's not about any of that.
But we're off topic. So...
distracted by Pepe's.
Oh, it is the Minecraft Nintendo thing, is the next one.
So I think I'm mostly in order here.
Yeah. Okay, so then, in May 20th...
Did you guys know you can't use Mario's likeness and things without Nintendo getting mad at you?
Yeah, this was especially stupid, because it wasn't someone trying to make a Mario game.
No.
It was someone who made the likeness of Mario in Minecraft, and then Nintendo came and shut them down.
Mm-hmm. For the Minecraft Pro, and only on the Wii U. This is a Wii U Mario, or Minecraft DLC pack.
Ah.
Which makes it even less bad. It wasn't even on consoles that Mario's not supposed to be on.
Yeah, that's weird.
So, like, what the hell?
So that was probably one of the most baffling and nonsensical takedowns that Nintendo issued. Because they issued takedowns where, like, I get it. It's super annoying, and I wish they hadn't done it, but I get it. Whereas this one is like, I don't understand why you did that.
Yep.
It didn't make sense. After that... Oh yeah, was there anything else we wanted to mention from this?
From this? No, not really. But there's more Nintendo on the way.
Oh, don't worry. This was fantastic. The Oculus story, which was also from, May? Yeah. Where,
I don't like this guy.
He's weird looking. Where Oculus had originally been like, hey, dude, all our Oculus software...
It's going to be DRM free.
It's going to be DRM free. That's our policy. And then as soon as someone started to actually... take advantage of that, Oculus was like, whoa, man.
Well, you can't use our software on other things.
There's gotta be DRM on this.
Yo, man.
Hey.
That's not cool. Who said you could do that?
So then they cracked down on these people, and I was just like, oh, no.
Yep. Patchmaker says breaking DRM is the only way to add Vive support to Oculus Rift games. So yeah, it blocked a fan-made workaround that let... Oculus put an update. This is on, like, May 23rd. That let HTC Vive owners play previously Rift-exclusive software. Oculus said the update wasn't targeted at the workaround, but was instead trying to curb piracy and protect games and apps that developers work so hard to make.
Mm.
But really, it's just them backpedaling on what they said because they realized they were going to lose money without DRM.
Yeah, I mean, the problem was that before, the way it had worked was, before Oculus implemented this thing, you still had to have a legit copy of the game. You just use this third-party software to play it on something that's not an Oculus.
Yeah.
But because of the DRM, people are like, oh, okay, well, I guess the only way to do this is to, like, pirate the games.
Yeah.
So it kind of just led to more piracy for people who were going to do this.
As a lot of DRM does. That's not an uncommon thing. This also, I like that it led, this article says it led to an arms race of sorts within, like, the VR community, of, like, getting, like, exclusivity and things like that. Whereas now we can look back on this and say, oh, it's an arms race for a method of gaming that nobody's actually interested in anymore.
Zing! Yeah, things were different in May.
Things were very different in May before all of these things came out. But in an article from September, we found out that VR sales were flatlining. Everybody who wanted it bought it, and then no one else bought it.
Oh, okay, so I had some more takedown things takedown articles, but do you want to talk about the
I mean, this goes
VR
nicely
stuff?
in, yeah.
Okay. Because there was something we saw this year, which was this stupid thing where VR came out in the spring, and everyone was all into it, and then it didn't sell.
Well, it sold, but then it abruptly stopped selling. Like the week after.
The early adopters bought it, and then no one else did.
Yeah.
And we still have yet to see any big AAA titles out of it.
Yes.
That have really grabbed people's attention. And as a result, it just doesn't sell. So it's interesting because it was originally this thing where it was like, oh, it's going to be the next big thing. It had so much potential, and they just didn't get there.
Yeah.
There was a weird thing in the Kotaku article actually about the biggest, the surprises of 2016, where they mentioned VR, and I just could not disagree more with them.
Did you send me this one?
I did. It was the Kotaku biggest surprises, or maybe I didn't. I'm pretty sure
I don't think you sent me this one because I opened everything in that email.
Let's see if I can find the part because it's really, really long.
Well, what's the title of the article?
The best video game surprises of 2016.
Let me look that up on my typey typer.
The internet.
And you can try and find where in the page it is. Yeah. The Simpsons.
Oh, no, that's something else.
Games they thought were never coming out that came out. Like Final Fantasy 15. And Doom 4 and The Last Guardian.
You know what? I can't find it in there. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm misremembering it.
I think you're misremembering. You're all messed up, man. You're all messed up.
I goofed it. The podcast is over.
Yeah, you screwed up, man.
Oh, it was in the Biggest Disappointments article.
Oh, Stardew Valley, though.
Yeah. In the Biggest Disappointments article, they had a section that says VR becomes a console war. And they were like, oh my gosh, VR. Now all these VR companies that we're going to work together.
Now everyone's arguing about whose VR is the best.
I'm like, but no one buys any of them.
No one cares. Nobody's shitting on people who bought the Oculus and talking about how cool their Vive is. It's not happening.
But if you visit the online hub of conversation for the new Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, and PlayStation VR headsets, you'll find people engaging in venomous arguments over which headset is better. Except you only find 5 of those people because that's all that own them. So
I like that. One of these is that the Nintendo Switch doesn't have a weird gimmick, but it totally does. It's just not a shitty gimmick.
Well, yeah, that's what they say. They're like, it's not interesting, not provocative, not weird, just good.
I mean, I guess, yeah. I still think it's kind of weird.
A little bit.
But
I mean, having the controllers, that's a great, yeah. Having the controller on the sides and it can slide off, and then for multiplayer games, like, one person holds one half and the other person holds the other, that's a little weird. A little bit. Anyway, let's go back to but those VR this year, it was a roller coaster.
Yep.
And it's
over.
Yeah.
You're back at the entrance.
Mr. Bones' wild ride, it ended.
It ended. I mean, we'll see where it goes from here, and what kind of software is put out to support it in 2017. Because something will be coming out for it in 2017.
I mean, they gotta.
You gotta do something.
I think the only one that still has a chance right now is PlayStation VR.
Because Sony is so fervently supporting it.
And it has that install base.
Yeah.
So. But other games.
More Star Wars fan games. Battlefront 3 fan remake.
Oh, okay, so this was the Galaxy in Turmoil game, which they talked about for a while. This is from August 1st that this happened. They talked about it for a while. They were making it. They were working on it. And they were like, we're not going to call it Star Wars. We're going to call it Galaxy in Turmoil. It'll just use all of the assets from the Battlefront 3 game that never came out.
But then they were like, no, we were making a bad Battlefront game instead.
Well, that's the thing. They had already made the bad Battlefront game. Yeah. This was halfway through the first year of it.
So buy our bad game instead.
Yeah. And it was weird because it took Disney a really long time to decide to take it down.
Yeah.
But they did, because that's obviously what was going to happen, and then Galaxy of Turmoil didn't get to happen.
Yeah.
So, great.
Because they didn't want to take attention away from the Battlefront.
I mean, it was around this time that I started my policy of, hey, if you're going to make a fan game, don't tell anyone about it.
Just shut up about it.
Just shut up about it. Because obviously these companies don't want you to do that.
This year is the perfect example of that.
Even if you're not going to make money on those games, these companies don't care. They still don't want you to do that.
Yep.
Because that's what I think a lot of these developers, and I put that in quotes, because like some of them probably have the skills of developers, but most of them are just fans. Most of these people are doing this not because they want to make money. They're doing this because they thought it would be a fun thing, and maybe they think that these parent companies will be okay with it because they're not making money, but obviously those companies are not.
And they're doing it because they think that the fan community at large wants to see something like that.
Which is
and
true.
Doing a service to the fan community. It's like, yeah, that's absolutely true in a lot of these cases.
Especially with Nostalrius.
Back to Nintendo, we have 2 Pokemon takedowns this year.
So these happened much more recently. We had Uranium happened in August, where they made that Uranium game, and it did get to come out. I mean, not for pay, but, it can't come out. And it seemed like Nintendo was going to be cool about it. And then after, like a week or something? I don't remember how much time passed.
I think it was something like that, yeah.
Nintendo was like, hey, no, you can't.
But it had already been downloaded 1.5 million times.
Yeah, so it was already well in circulation.
Yeah. This was, for anyone who's wondering, this was a fully original Pokemon game made in RPG Maker.
Oh, that's what it was made in, yeah.
Including, like, completely original new Pokemon, most of which I don't think are very good. But that's my personal opinion.
They put a lot of work in, though.
They put a lot of work into it. But yeah.
That weird elephant thing.
He's alright.
He's alright.
He's alright.
Look at him.
So they basically said, they've got multiple takedown notices, but they hadn't been personally contacted, the developers. And it's clear what their wishes were, and they respect those wishes deeply. So they took it down, but obviously it had already been disseminated through the internet by that point. So everybody can still play it.
There was another thing that I am remembering now that I forgot to put in our list. I don't remember if it happened this year or last year, but it was the Metal Gear Solid Unreal or Unity engine.
I think that was last year. Shadow Moses or whatever.
Shadow Moses. Because that is a similar story. I just can't remember if it happened, what year it happened in.
Yeah. It's pretty much the same thing. And we can talk about it anyway. No, it's from this year.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It happened in March.
I forgot to put that on the thing.
Back in the midst of all the Konami drama. They announced this, and then not long after its announcement, Konami canceled it.
Because of course Konami was going to do that.
It was a remake of Metal Gear Solid 1 in the Unreal Engine.
And it looked spectacular.
It looked really cool.
But, yeah, it obviously immediately got taken down.
Yep. Because Konami was like, nope. Pokemon ROM hack, Pokemon Prism, which was a ROM hack of Pokemon Gold, and just it had its own unique Pokemon layout, or Pokedex, and its own story, and a bunch of badges to get, and it was a big, ambitious ROM hack. And this also got taken down by Nintendo's Australian law firm. And this was worked on for 8 years, as opposed to the other one, which was to Uranium, which was worked on for 9 years.
Whoa.
And once again, you can easily find this ROM hack available online, even though it was taken down, quote unquote.
Well, that was the thing. I think we talked about this last week, is that it was taken down, but then some days later, or maybe we didn't talk about this, I don't remember. Some days later, because this might have been more recent, this might have actually happened this week, a team of hackers got the code for it and then released it. I think Kotaku interviewed them, and they were like, we won't give our names because, then we get sued.
Because we're not gonna.
And then they were like, we took out all the credits from Pokemon Prism. They altered the game. They removed the credit sequence and something else about it because they were like, because we don't want those people to get any repercussions, which was nice of them.
It was nice of them.
Thinking. Pokemon finds a way. Hackers find a way. Jeff Goldblum taught me that. Yeah, man, this year there were so many instances of fan projects.
Yeah, I mean, we had the Metroid fan project as well.
Oh, we did.
AM2R,
Yeah.
which I don't think we even pulled up an article for.
Did that not get shut down, though? Because that got taken out of the Game Awards.
No, it got taken out. It got shut down.
Oh.
It got a cease and desist, and you can still find it online.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing about this, too, is, like, this is all done in the name of, like, protecting their IP, but cease and desisting the people who made the ROM hack or made the remake of the game or whatever, the fan game, isn't stopping anyone from playing it.
No. You're just... I mean, I actually tweeted at Nintendo about this before, where I'm just like, you guys, this only generates bad PR. Because you don't stop anyone from playing it. You just go to this fan that's devoted all this time to it and spit in their face.
There's a video right here on this article of people playing Pokemon Prism on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
It's like incredibly public.
Although that was before it got shut down, though.
Was it?
Yeah, because it was after that happened that prompted Nintendo to send the thing.
Gotcha.
On Twitch Plays Pokemon. Prism.
Tons of people are still playing it.
Oh, yeah, no. I wouldn't be surprised if Twitch Plays Pokemon is still playing it.
Probably.
But
that's the end of most of the takedown stories.
But do you think it's weird that this year we've gotten so many of those? Like,
I mean, a little bit. I'm sure that... I know there's been several in past years, and maybe we just didn't report on as many of them, but it does feel like we've reported on an inordinately high number of them this year. And I don't know, I'd have to go back and pour through the past couple of years of articles and things to confirm that, but it does feel like more.
And I can't tell if it's that companies are cracking down more, or if there are more fan projects now.
It could be a combination of both, too.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Don't make hand gestures. This is radio.
I'm making as many hand gestures as I want. So what else do we got?
This was my favorite story.
A darling of a story
from
the beginning of the year.
This was my
Zoom in on that Danny DeVito face.
So they were talking about how they want to make a Detective Pikachu
and they are
movie thing.
Well, first the game was announced.
Yes,
the movie is a more recent development.
Yeah.
But yeah, people were like, yo, Detective Pikachu, is it coming to the United States? Who knows? But Pikachu talks in it. What does that mean? It means Danny DeVito has to voice him in the American dub. So, it's not happening.
No, it was never going to happen.
Tragically, but there were a bunch of petitions everywhere for this. There's a trailer edit with clips of Danny DeVito from Always Sunny in Philadelphia talking over Pikachu. That's pretty spectacular. And then, as you said, a movie was announced, and people were like, well, Danny DeVito's an actor, why don't we get him to voice Detective Pikachu in the movie? And I believe Danny DeVito himself was actually contacted about that, and his response is, what the fuck is Pokemon?
What's a Pikachu?
He doesn't know.
No.
He's old, he doesn't know what this is.
Why would he know what it is?
Why would he? Exactly.
But that's what makes him the perfect actor to portray Pikachu, because he's not going in with any preconceived notions about Pikachu.
That's a really good point. He can build this character from the ground up into a Pikachu we've never seen before.
Exactly. It's still such perfect casting. There was a petition. I forget how many signatures it ended up with.
Quite a few.
Like 50K? Maybe that's totally wrong. It's probably linked in this article.
It probably is.
Is it up there?
Detective Pikachu.
Change.org.
Oh, only over 2,500 signatures.
Well, when this article
but that was
written.
when the article was written, which was right at the beginning.
Click on that Change.org link.
Does that take us to the petition?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, over 50,000 supporters.
I was right.
It didn't reach its goal of 75,000 though. So we were 23,000 votes or signatures short of getting Danny DeVito to voice Detective Pikachu.
Because that would have happened.
Because everybody knows that petitions get you everywhere.
Yep.
You make a petition, people can't say no. I still have hope.
Keep trying.
Keep trying.
It's been a year. You can do it.
So we've seen the Neo.
Oh yeah, so this was a big deal.
Yeah, we heard back in April that Sony was planning for a 4K capable, more powerful PS4, codenamed the Neo.
Ooh.
There he is right
now,
there.
it ended up being called the PS4 Pro.
Yeah.
And nobody cared. But we also saw reveals for what is it called? The Scorpio?
Yeah. Which is the Xbox equivalent.
Xbox equivalent. They both came out, and I mean, I think we were reporting on sales for this in November, and they weren't bad.
No.
But it wasn't, nobody was super excited about it. And we also read all these stories about how games, they look a little better, I guess. But if you don't own a 4K TV, there's just not a reason to get these.
Yeah.
So this was another big thing this year, kind of like VR, where we had this bit, everybody got hyped about this new tech that was going to come out, and then it did.
Yeah.
And the response was kind of meh.
Well, because at present, the PS4 Pro doesn't really do that much.
You need it for VR.
You need it for VR, but games run at like a slightly higher resolution. If you have a 4K TV, it looks pretty. But a lot of games already released or still releasing don't really support it fully.
Yeah.
Some games actually run worse on it.
Last Guardian.
Last Guardian runs better on the Pro. But the Nier Automata demo runs worse on the Pro.
Oh, really?
Than on the regular hardware. I don't know what's up with that. Speaking of Nier Automata coming out next year, really excited for it. That demo's great.
Oh, yeah.
That demo was really good. I played that demo, and I loved it. So much good gameplay.
How does that blind girl see all those robots?
She's a robot.
Oh, she doesn't need eyes.
She's 100% Android.
She's got Wi-Fi, so
she's got Wi-Fi. Yep. That's how she fights in high heels, too.
Oh.
She's a robot. And there's a boy robot, too. And he also has a blindfold. So it's just a thing.
It's just a thing.
It's probably symbolism, because Yoko Taro, the guy who made like Drakengard and Nier and all that stuff, just is a weirdo. And he puts lots of weirdo symbolism and things in his stories. He's a huge weirdo.
No, I like how you said it's symbolism, so then I thought you were going to go on to explain what it's a symbol of.
No.
And then you're like, no, it's symbolism because the guy who made it is weird.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's symbolism for something. I don't know what in the game. I mean, the robot people in the demo, they say they're not supposed to have emotions, so it's probably something about closing your senses off to the world.
Oh, no.
And not seeing things.
Kubo did it better.
You can do your, so you can do your duty. Kubo did it real good. Kubo's blindness symbolism was on point. But we're not here to talk about good movies. We're here to talk about bad movies like Detective Pikachu.
So yeah, we saw these reveals of consoles this year, and that ended up
they came out.
They came out, and it was kind of a whatever.
Yep. Wowie zowie. No Man's Sky.
Okay, so I chose this particular article because it was the first instance that I could find that we talked about of fan backlash against Hello Games for No Man's Sky, and this was before No Man's Sky came out.
Yeah.
So this was from May 31st.
When hype was at its peak.
Yes.
Because No Man's Sky was coming out in June.
And people were excited, and they couldn't wait for this game that was going to be so revolutionary that you could never finish because it was too long.
Plant a tree and watch it grow.
We plant a tree and watch it grow. And then Hello Games were like, you guys, we're just an indie studio, and like this is a lot of work, and we're just going to have to delay this.
You guys, there's 8 of us.
Yeah. And the fans, their loving fans responded with death threats to
Fuck
this.
you. I wish you were dead. I'll kill you.
Sean Murray.
Yeah.
Go jump off a bridge.
Go jump off a bridge. So, as people are wont to do, they respond to things they don't like with threats of violence. Mm-hmm. Even if all it is waiting 2 extra months to play a video game. That, as life showed us, you were inevitably disappointed with anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was these things.
Can you imagine what the response to the game would have been like if they'd released it when they originally planned to?
Oh no.
Because there's no way it was even nearly as polished as it was when it came out in August.
And it was not ready to go in August.
No.
Yeah, man. When I was looking back through these stories that we did about No Man's Sky and Hello Games, I just felt a great well of pity for Hello Games. Because, they really should have been more communicative after the release of the game, and that's still on them. But their fan base are just horrible people.
Well, the vast majority of the gaming fan base is horrible people.
I guess so.
Or most people who play video games these days, as we can tell from incidents like this, are spoiled brats.
Just bad.
just kind of wandering from the next big hyped thing from one big hyped thing to the next big hyped thing.
And and I think that No Man's Sky this year really, really drove that point home.
It was an indie game hyped up to be a AAA title.
And it was just it
was just an indie game.
It was just an indie game, and there was just a lot of very, very poor behavior from
all around,
everybody.
It wasn't great. Even Shuhei Yoshida, head of Sony.
Oh my god, he was such a jerk.
It was like, wow, maybe they shouldn't have advertised their game like that. Yes, Sony, maybe the people who Sony is advertising for shouldn't have advertised their game like that. Shocker.
Oh.
You know what's even more disappointing than No Man's Sky?
Oh, mute that and play it.
Should I play it? We're gonna get a copyright strike from Konami.
I don't even care.
Okay.
But, yeah, definitely mute it, though. Because I don't want to hear it.
Because everybody loves Metal Gear. Everybody loves Metal Gear Solid 3 in particular. And I mean, what better way to experience Metal Gear Solid 3 than on a 32-inch full HD pachinko screen? Wow, big bossu! Oh, the big bossu machine! Where's the video? Where is it?
It's coming up.
Where's the end of Metal Gear Solid 3 lovingly recreated in extremely good graphics just for your stupid fucking pachinko machine? You rat bastard pieces of shit.
So this was interesting because 2015 was the whole fuck Konami controversy.
Yes.
And that's when most of that stuff went down. There was into this year there was still stuff that we had to deal with, like Aftermath stuff.
Yeah.
But this was the highlight. This was the cherry on top
of fuck Konami.
Of that whole situation.
The fuck Konami movement. Here we go. Oh look, and then it pans out and you realize that you're actually in hell. You're not playing an amazing recreation of Metal Gear Solid 3. You're playing a pachinko machine. What do you even do with pachinko machines? What do you get out of it? I don't know. You get more metal balls for spending your metal balls.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I hate this. I hate Japan.
The weirdest gambling.
I hate all of Japan. Because they like pachinko.
Says the man who's been to Japan twice.
And somebody in Japan was excited about this. God damn it. Fuck.
So this video, scroll down a bit.
I mean, this is posted on a non-official channel that was from June 1st.
It was from June 1st.
I don't think this machine's out yet. I think it actually comes out at the beginning of next year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This had 1.2 million views.
Yep, as you can see.
And it had, 1,500 likes and 60,000 dislikes.
Just shy of 60,000 dislikes. Oh my god, people were so mad. But this is also, like, from the Konami side of things, this is also, like, their fuck you to Kojima. After everything's all said, no, hey, Kojima, you made this Metal Gear Solid 3, you made this game with all this love and thought and care, and now we're making it into a pachinko machine, and there's nothing you can fucking do about it.
I don't actually think that was their thought process.
I bet there was one guy.
Well, maybe there's one guy.
I bet there's one guy who's like, fuck Hideo Kojima.
I think their thought process was probably,
we can squeeze a lot of money out of this.
Yeah, like, how do we milk this for a little bit more money? There was, there was also news about how they were releasing another Metal Gear game that has zombies in it.
Metal Gear Survive.
And that was
coming out next year.
Also insulting. Not as insulting as a pachinko machine.
It's just a team-based zombie survival game in the Fox engine.
Yeah.
But it's insulting to the Metal Gear fan base in some ways, I think. And it really, it's an IP that they own, unfortunately, and they're just trying to make money off of it still, until they, drain it dry, when people realize that Metal Gear's stupid without Hideo Kojima.
Yeah.
The Nintendo Switch got announced this year.
Don't play that.
I'm not playing this video because I know in one of our other streams we played this video and we got a copyright strike for it.
Oh yeah.
So, the Nintendo Switch got announced. It's got a gimmick where you can play the screen.
It detaches from the dock, and then you play it on the go, and then you put back the dock, you play on your TV.
Yep.
That's it. It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. There's going to be lots of cool games on it. They may have good third-party support, or they may not.
Can I point out that one of the things we reported on a couple weeks ago was that there was that whole patent about VR, and they were like, they filed this patent in June.
Yeah.
I went back and looked through our articles, and we reported on that in June.
We did?
We did.
Oh my god.
I didn't even remember, but I was like, oh, we did. Because again, and to bring it back to the VR thing that we talked about earlier, back in June, when VR was first coming out, it was the hot new shit.
Yeah.
And everyone was so excited. So I assumed that at the time when we reported on it, we were like, oh, hey, I guess that's a good idea for Nintendo because VR is a big deal right now.
And we know very little else about the Switch at this point, but luckily at the beginning of January we're getting a direct about it.
Oh, good.
January 12th or 13th, I believe. I think 12th. January... It'll be the 12th.
Yeah.
Yes, Thursday. So then we'll have more to say about it.
In the Nintendo Switch announce, we were shown Breath of the Wild, which will not launch with the console, and we were shown.
We haven't been confirmed that that's not going to launch with the console.
I thought we were.
It's just a strong rumor.
Okay.
I don't think there's been official confirmation.
And we were also we also saw the Elder Scrolls remastered in this trailer.
And some sport ball games.
Yes, but with the Elder Scrolls thing, then they asked Bethesda, hey, Elder Scrolls Remastered could be on the Switch, and Bethesda's like, oh, no.
They were like, oh, maybe. No, we're not going to comment.
So that may also not be happening,
they also
but
showed
it probably will.
Splatoon 2, or what people are assuming is Splatoon 2. Splatoon, so to speak.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's too easy.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
The Fate of the Furious.
I can't. The naming conventions on that movie franchise.
It's the best.
It is the best.
It's the freaking best. Please call it what it is. The Fast and the Furious cinematic universe. It's what it is.
Yeah, they should have more Fast Furious spin-off movies.
Once you're at 8 films with a consistent world setting and characters that recur through the movies, you have a cinematic universe.
Just rivaling the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
You're there.
It's certainly got more butts than the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And way more family. You say family like every other word.
This isn't about money. This is about family. And fat asses.
Oh, okay.
That's Vin Diesel.
Oh, Vin.
So yeah, we'll talk about the Switch more at the beginning of January, once that happens.
In October, we had some interesting news. October 21st, the news broke that the voice actor strike officially began. Now, this was something that we had been reporting on for the past, year.
That they were in negotiations for better rights as voice actors within their unions.
And all of their demands were pretty reasonable.
Decently, from our perspective, they were reasonable.
And then it didn't work out. So they started striking. And I believe they're still striking.
I believe so. And just in time for Nolan North to throw them under the bus at the Game Awards.
Yeah, then Nolan North threw them under the bus at the Game Awards, which was real nice of him.
Really classless.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of surprisingly classless. And it just felt so unnecessary.
At least, if you're not going to support them, just don't say anything.
Just don't say anything.
Don't be a jerk about it.
It's kind of douchey to just go up there and...
And the way he did it at the Game Awards was under the veil of trying to be a champion for somebody else.
Yeah.
Which made it kind of more douchey.
Yeah.
Because he was like, no,
hey, screw them, but look, I like these guys. They're doing great work.
Game devs are more important, so we should help them and screw the voice actors. And I'm like, no, everyone should have better treatment.
Except for me. Because they cast me in everything.
Yeah. He doesn't care about the voice strike. He's going to find work either way. He's going to get tons of money.
And at least Troy Baker didn't say anything about it.
Yeah, Jesus. Come on. Nolan?
And you had cool people like Jennifer Hale and David Hayter came out in support of it. And everything. They weren't assholes.
That's because David Hayter's been humbled in his past.
Yeah.
And he understands.
And Jennifer Hale is the female Nolan North. She's in fucking everything.
Is she femshep?
Yes.
Yeah.
She's all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So, She's the equivalent, pretty much.
Wait, was she also in Uncharted?
Jennifer Hale?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Because that new Uncharted game just had everybody famous in it.
I mean, maybe she was in the new one, I don't know.
Man, I wonder if Kevin Spacey was in the new Uncharted game.
I do know that in Metroid Prime, Jennifer Hale voiced Samus, which basically means she just went into a recording booth and grunted for a half hour. And they used it as the sounds of, like, you getting hit and stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because there's no...
Well, she's credited as Samus in that game.
Man,
she's the one who went like, oh!
That is a lot of money to spend.
They wanted Samus to have real voice acting clout in her silent role.
My goodness.
I would, like, Jennifer Hale would totally work as Samus, though, in an actual, like, voiced role.
Oh, totally.
Like, super well.
Now I want to look.
Samus is basically just FemShep with a cooler costume.
Yes,
like pretty much.
Yeah. Now I want to see if she was in. She was in Totally Spies. This is just
of course
showing,
she was.
This is just showing her TV credits.
Dude, anyone who's anyone was in Totally Spies.
Anyone who's anyone.
Who was anyone was in Totally Spies.
Was she in Uncharted? Was she in Uncharted? I don't know why I can't remember that.
While you're looking for that,
this was a big story.
A big story about Counter-Strike gambling. Look at this rad guy, CS:GO Lotto.
Mm-hmm.
So Counter-Strike Global Offensive was the victim of a ton of controversy because various YouTubers who did Counter-Strike like gambling activities, because you could gamble on skins in this game because all the skins had like an in-game value. They could somehow be translated into like real-world currency value, and all these people were gambling on it, including underage people, 12-year-olds. And the gambling site promoted by several of these YouTubers was then revealed to be owned by them. So they were like literally rigging it and scamming people through their gambling site. And also encouraging underage gambling.
Oh.
Which is really not looked well upon.
Side note, Jennifer Hale was not in any of in the Uncharted games, sort of. She was in Uncharted 3 as the multiplayer announcer.
There you go.
But not... That's weird.
That is weird.
Yeah, no, this was a big story, not because I think it really was indicative of a larger trend, as many of our story picks have been for this year, but just because it was such a big deal, because there was just so much money. Like, man, these guys were just cheating. Yeah. They were gambling, they were making tons of bucks.
Martin and Tom Syndicate Castle. Yeah, so this all ended with Steam, I shouldn't say Steam, with Valve cracking down on it and pretty much shutting all this stuff down.
Yeah, basically saying that you can't gamble on third-party websites.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of... this actually reminds me of another thing that we reported on recently, that when we reported on it, I don't think we reported on it as a bad thing, but it probably is. That Steam's game library this year, like 40% of its game library or something came out this year. Yeah. And I think
we talked about this in both respects, I think. That on the one hand it shows that there's lots more like indie games coming out and people taking advantage of Steam Greenlight and things like that. But at the same time, there's tons of shovelware.
There's so much shovelware.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, when Kotaku's, like, their big disappointments article, when they were rounding a bunch of stuff up, one of the things they're saying is, like, Steam is being inundated with shovelware.
There's
so much.
And Steam is now the Wii.
Oh. But, and that's certainly something that Jim Sterling talks about all the time.
Yeah. Well...
So Steam stopped this, but they're still goofing on a couple of things.
Oh, that picture of Gabe Newell. The one picture of Gabe Newell that anyone who wants to do a thing about Gabe Newell uses.
Yep.
There he is. Doesn't have his beard in that one. Some video game movies came out this year, too.
The Assassin's Creed.
That movie is boring. Super hard.
But is it doing well in China?
Well, I don't know yet, but right now its projected losses are $75 to $100 million.
Oh, that's...
on a $125 million budget.
I mean, it's a pretty high budget.
That's That's bad.
It is pretty bad.
Like, that's really bad.
But there was a Warcraft movie that came out this year,
with CGI dwarves,
directed by David Bowie's son.
Yes. R.I.P. David Bowie.
Mm-hmm. And it came out in America, and all the people in America were like, "This movie sucks. We're not going to go see this."
Except for people who like Warcraft, who were like, "That was pretty fun."
Yeah, no, I mean, our friends who are really into Warcraft lore were like, "We can't wait for this movie," and they saw it, and they were like, "We loved this movie." And I thought, hey, that's good.
Yeah.
The fans, it appeals to the fans, which is really a great thing.
Yeah.
But generally, nobody saw it in America. And everyone thought, well, that's it, whatever, another lackluster video game movie. But then the numbers came in from China, and China loved it.
China adored this movie.
They, like, what was it?
46 million on its opening night. That's nuts.
That's crazy.
That's so much money. It ended up making like 400 million or something in China.
I think so.
It's on the level of like the Transformers movies over there. Oh my god, Guy Fieri.
What is he doing?
He's preparing food.
How was his 2016? Yeah, I want to look up some of the exact numbers on this, but this was... so it's interesting. This was a big story just because it made so much money, and it means we're going to probably see a whole franchise of Warcraft movies, even though the country that like
it originates from
and the language that it's in, like no one there liked it, and no one will go see the sequels there.
Whatever.
I wonder if some of the sequels will have more Asian actors in them.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, so its domestic gross was $47 million, which is actually better than I thought it did. It had a $160 million production budget, significantly higher than Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
And its foreign was $385 million. So, yeah.
I'm waiting on that Overwatch movie. I'll see it.
I would see it. I mean, I saw Warcraft. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I still haven't seen Warcraft. I gotta check it out now that it's more readily available.
Don't get me wrong, Warcraft isn't a good movie. If you're watching our Twitch stream, if you're looking at Guy Fieri, I understand he's on the side of the screen. But if you turn your direction to the right,
look at this guy's face.
Yeah, no, that screenshot is not a bad indicator of what Warcraft the movie is like. It's like CGI,
some gawk-eyed dude.
Yeah, like some random gawk-eyed dude standing in a mess of CGI.
Yep. With CGI characters and yada yada yada. Fun.
In that movie, there was a great thing where the elves, like, they did this whole thing where there were, like, barely any elves in it.
Oh, thank God.
But they're at this
Got enough of that crap in the Hobbit movies.
I know, right? But they're at this big meeting table, and all the different races are there. And the dwarves are there, and they look like dwarves. And the elves are there, and they look like such Warcraft elves. They have the giant...
super long eyebrows.
Giant ears, they have big shoulder pads, and their eyes glow. Like, they do CGI touch-ups so that their eyes glow. And I'm just like, this is ridiculous.
This is just like the portraits.
Oof. Hey, they're true to the game, you know?
As far as games coming out in the next week or so, we have Milkmaid of the Milky Way for Windows, Mac, and iOS, and Hatsune Miku Project Diva Future Tone for the PS4. So if you're way into Hatsune Miku, it's going to be a good new year. There's not much else besides that, though. I mean, until more things go... Oh, RE7 comes out at the end of January. I thought it was later than that.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, what games are we looking forward to this year that have actually been said?
Nier Automata, for sure.
Definitely.
It's coming out in March.
There was that new Dragon Quest, kind of interested in that.
I'm looking forward to Neo, actually.
That looks very cool.
Tecmo's take on a Souls game, kind of.
Everyone's excited about For Honor. I'm really worried that game is going to be kind of boring.
It looks kind of cool, but yeah, I don't know what its staying power is going to be like.
Like, if it has really good multiplayer, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
It certainly is pretty, though. Halo Wars 2, nope, nobody cares.
Persona 5 in April.
Can't wait.
Faux show. There's not much else announced so far.
Not really. Ukulele is supposed to come out in April 2017. That's going to be great.
Awesome. A lot of people are excited for Horizon Zero Dawn, my wife included. I'm not really feeling it.
Oh, Torment Tides of
Numenera.
So that is basically another Planescape Torment game.
Yeah, isn't it like a sequel?
Yeah.
Or it's just the same kind of thing?
Yeah.
That's neat.
Oh,
great.
Too small. No, that was a Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Look at that isometric environment.
It was a Kickstarter campaign that was very well funded, and it's going to happen. And it's like
Planescape Torment's a real good game.
And I think some of the creators of that are working on Torment, and definitely like the guy who wrote the Planescape stuff for D&D is working on it. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Planescape Torment's real good.
Oh yeah.
It's an old game, but if you can get your hands on it, which I'm sure you can through like GOG or something.
Oh, definitely, it's on there.
It's worth a play if you like isometric like D&D-esque RPGs.
Yeah, if you found yourself playing the Baldur's Gate games and you were like, I really wish there was a game like this, but was more like out there.
Yeah, but it's out there, but it also has really good writing.
Oh, it's so good.
Like Planescape Torment's writing is super good. It's also fun because it's a game where you really get to customize your character and build yourself as like, I want to be really strong, or I want to be really smart, or I want to be really charismatic. And unlike some other games of this sort, it gives you a reason to go really hard into any one of those paths. You can beat the game like practically without fighting. You can negotiate your way through almost every situation, which is fascinating. It's really cool. What games from this year did we really like? How about you start, Lex?
I got my one game that I really liked.
Your top game? Or just some other games you liked as well?
So, Hyper Light Drifter came out this year.
Yeah.
And I didn't know I could love a game until...
Dude, I love Hyper Light Drifter.
Well, especially because Hyper Light Drifter is described as kind of a Souls game.
Kinda.
And I really don't like Dark Souls. Because I know a lot of people are like, Dark Souls, it's so hard. And I'm like, yeah, no, I can't get past the first level of that game. I played it for hours and hours and hours and hours. And the first boss kills me within 5 seconds. And no matter, like, I make different kinds of characters, I try different kinds of strategies, I always lose. So eventually, I just threw my controller at a wall, except I didn't do that because I care about those controllers are expensive.
You threw it at a pillow.
Yeah. And I was like, nah, not gonna play Souls anymore.
Yeah.
But then I played Hyper Light Drifter, and I'm like, this is challenging, but I can actually, like, work at it and get better at it.
Better at, like, retro-styled games.
And that's what I liked. Because I like games that are challenging, I just want to eventually be able to get better at them. And yeah, so I thought that game was amazing. And also, like, that not only does it have that very satisfying gameplay, but the art style is very cool.
The pixel art in that game is incredibly detailed.
The way the story is told is really
beautiful.
Cool. Yeah, it's a
that
really,
music,
really...
that the music ambient soundtrack it has is incredible. So good! Yeah, that game's wonderful. Some people... Most of the complaints I've seen about it are that it's vague about its plot, but who cares?
It's supposed to be.
Yeah. Like, whatever, it's artistic. I agree with you on that one. That was a fantastic game. I was also gonna throw this out. I mean, you might not expect this to be one of my top ones of the year, but it definitely is. I actually thought, now that I've beaten it, or at least beaten the main story, now I'm in like post-game stuff, I think Pokemon Moon might have been one of my top games of the whole year.
Ah.
Because Pokemon Moon, or Sun and Moon if we're counting them both, those games are such an amazing return to form for Pokemon. It's like, Pokemon's something I've always liked. But I would play one and then I'd be like, yeah, that was fun. Like, I like Pokemon, that's neat. And then I would be done with it. But I never really got, like, hyped for when new ones were coming out. And even Sun and Moon, I was like, these will be fun. I'm going to try this out because it looks like they're changing a lot of stuff for the better. I really want to get into it. Man, did I fall in love with that game. Like, the story of it is really simple, but it's really good and well told. Like, I gave a crap about the story in that game. I don't remember ever giving a crap about a Pokemon game's story, really. Some people like the Generation 5 game's story, Black and White, but I thought it was so melodramatic and dumb. And it was still a big, like, I'm going to take over the world plot. Sun and Moon's story is this, like, really, like, personal, small-scale story. It's not, like, a world destruction thing. All the characters are great. The villains are great. The Team Skull, because I don't even consider them the villains, they're fantastic. Better than Team Rocket. People, G1ers of Pokemon are going to crucify me for that. But Team Skull is better than Team Rocket. They're interesting. They're not just criminals. They have heart and emotion behind them, and like you care about them in a weird way. And the boss of Team Skull is a great character. And there's just a lot going on in that game you wouldn't expect, and a lot of things that are like some more mature themes that are kind of hidden in the back. Speaking of Team Skull's leader, for example, this is a little spoiler, so skip ahead a little bit if you haven't played the game. It's heavily alluded to in that game that the leader of Team Skull was abused as a child by his dad, and that's why he turned out the way he did. So you get a villain whose motivation and personality was totally forged by a very real kind of home life that people have. Like, your villain is not a crime lord. Your villain is not a guy who wants to destroy the world. Your villain is a dude who got the shit kicked out of him by his dad when he was a kid, until he finally ran away from home, and now he's just trying to prove that he's good enough to make something of himself on his own. That's, like, real.
That's real.
That's real, and that's great. He's a person. Like, the characters in this Pokemon game are people, which is weird, because in all the other Pokemon games, that's just not the case.
Yeah, no, they're always just like,
hello, I am the next gym leader. Yeah, I will battle you now.
They've always been cartoons. Not only have they looked like cartoons, but they've been cartoons.
Yeah, but even the gym leaders in the past games, like, they're just like, I am gym leader. I use dark-type Pokemon. I am here to fight you. Oh, you beat me. Here is badge. Goodbye. You will never see me again.
Maybe I have an amusing character quirk that comes through in conversation.
For the 2 times you talk to me.
Yes.
Before and after we fight.
Yeah.
And there's been exceptions to that. The Steel-type gym leader in Pokemon Silver and Gold did a little bit more in the story. There's a couple others. But all of the trial captains in this game, which take that role, have more going on. You encounter them more in the story than just during their trials. You do more stuff with them. In particular, the guy who runs the fire trial, after you beat the fire trial, you can go find him at his house at night, and you do all this stuff, and then he's like, oh my god, I gotta get to work. And you follow him, and you see him get fired from his job, and he's like, oh man! Like, stuff happens to these characters, and it's all very, like, realistic. Nothing is wacky and zany and super crazy. And the core story is really strong. And beyond that, it's the best looking and best running Pokemon game they've ever made. It looks great, it plays great. It's just good. It's just a really good game.
You know, that reminds me, there was another big thing that happened this year that I forgot to mention earlier that I wanted to touch on. Because it's not like we haven't already talked about it a million times, but still worth mentioning in a sort of year in review type thing, which is Pokemon Go came out this year.
Oh, yeah. Which was huge for a bit.
I mean, it's another thing, you know, there was definitely a trend this year where they were like, new tech, so exciting, and then those things came out and people were like,
Because how many weeks after its release would you say Pokemon Go was big with our friend group?
A month at most.
A month at most, and I think a lot of us stopped really seriously doing it after like 2 weeks. I think I petered out around the 2 or 3 week mark.
And and people still play it. It still makes Nintendo a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But it was this sort of cultural phenomenon that happened.
Yeah.
That we have not seen the likes of since the Pokemon trading cards first came to the States.
Oh yeah.
And then it could have sustained itself, or I believe that it could have sustained itself if the game had been better.
Yeah.
Which
it has been fixed a lot by this point.
Yeah.
But there's still many problems with it as well.
But that was a big thing that happened.
And people stampeding through Central Park to catch a Vaporeon.
Mm-hmm. A guy being beat up and his phone stolen while he was live streaming playing.
That was crazy.
That was pretty crazy, actually.
That was, like, nuts.
I felt really bad for that guy, but at the same time, I'm like, well, I mean, the guy who stole that from you is now on tape. Stealing so, you know, you got the best chance of getting your phone back of anybody.
more than a lot of people do, yeah. So would you say Hyper Light Drifter was like your kind of personal game of the year?
Yes.
Or like your big surprise, like I really liked it game?
Yeah, that game came out of nowhere, and then I was like, I need to play this, and then I did,
Yeah.
and I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah. I'd say
Um,
Hyper Light Drifter. If we're going for like new games, like new ideas and new franchises, I'd say Hyper Light Drifter might be mine too.
but I'm
It's
gonna
just so like unique and special and like perfectly crafted.
I'm gonna put a caveat on that though, because Doom came out this year, and I want Doom to be my favorite game, but I still haven't been able to play it because my computer can't run it, and Dan won't let me play his copy. So, I'm sure if I can squeeze in some playtime of that game before the year ends,
Oh man,
I might change my
it's
mind.
gonna be tough.
That's all I'm saying.
I need to get a controller hooked up to my computer for playing. I guess you can play with a mouse and keyboard. Fine, there's not that many
You don't want
buttons.
to do that.
But it's an FPS without tons of buttons. It's totally doable.
Yeah, and I mean the original was played that way.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, I mean, I think Pokemon Sun and Moon is probably my game of the year, just because it's delightful. I can't wait to jump into the post game content. Also, the final battle after the Elite Four in the main story of that game is so good. It happened, and I was like, "Yeah, no way!" Like I couldn't believe it. And the music for it was spectacular. So, if you're towards the end of that game, if you somehow haven't beaten it yet, and you haven't beaten the Elite Four yet, you are in for a treat after those Elite Four battles.
I hope at the end of the game, Skull Leader just fights his dad, just to prove that
Some
he's
stuff
good
happens
enough.
with that post game, I heard, so I want to go look at. Well, I think he already beat his dad up. That's the
Oh,
implication. Before he left home, he beat his dad up
oh,
and then fucked off.
good.
Yeah, yeah. So, because I think he's been out of the house for a while.
No, but I meant his dad would show up with Pokemon.
Oh, and he beats
and
his
he would
dad
have
at
to.
Pokemon
He would have to
battle?
fight his dad
Oh
at
my
Pokemon.
God.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
And Team Skull's the greatest. The greatest of all time. The problem I found with Sun and Moon is my last thing I'll say about it is I don't know how Game Freak is going to top this for the next Pokemon game. I don't know how they're going to do this again for the 8th generation of games.
And how are they going to top it with their Nintendo Switch game?
Yeah. Well, that can be just an expanded version.
Yeah, it probably will
So
be,
just-
actually.
It'll be like the same as the base game, but with some more added content.
It better end up being called Eclipse. That's all I'm saying.
Eclipse would be a cool name.
It would be such a good name.
It's probably going to be Stars, though.
Stupid. Anyway.
Anyway, that's about the end of our show, plus 3 minutes.
That has been our year in review of 2016, the year in which fans' hopes were crushed, I think. Yeah.
Fan projects destroyed left and right, most of which are still playable
And
if you Google them.
And then a bunch of lackluster or overly expensive technology came out.
Yeah.
That pretty much was 2016.
Man, 2016 was just a shit year all around, huh?
It was, even for the gaming
Even
industry.
for the
It was
gaming
not
industry, it was
great.
just stupid.
We had a few gems come
Yeah.
out, and otherwise...
A lot of good stuff in 2017, though. At least at the beginning.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see.
But thanks for listening. We have been
Yeah.
Don't Copy That Floppy. We do hosts Lex and Dan.
I'm Dan.
We can be found on all sorts of social media.
That's what I was going to say.
If you just search Don't Copy That Floppy Podcast or DCTF Podcast. So we're on Twitter, YouTube, iTunes, all that
Facebook.
stuff. We can be found. We have a Patreon if you want to support us on there.
Yep, and if you want to support us without paying money, you can also just go to iTunes, leave us an iTunes review.
Oh, that would be great.
Which would be terrific as well. And if you do want to give us money on Patreon, you should also still go and leave us an iTunes review. Because that part's free.
And definitely check out our show archive. We have had a couple of guests on recent episodes.
Yeah, and we'll hopefully be continuing that into the new year.
Yeah.
Having either having those guys back again, or as well as some new ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Look forward to that. That it?
I think that's it.
We're done?
So
oh my god. Hey, until next year, remember, don't copy that floppy.